Hello, everyone. It's Valesia. I just want to get on here and share my testimony. Today is January 17th, 2026, and I just want to share my testimony. Warning, this reel might be really long, so if you don't want to watch it, just end it now. If you want to, skip maybe to the end, you can do that too. I don't know. But I just wanted to share my testimony. Um, and why I came to Jesus. I was actually doing an assignment where I had to write out my testimony. So I kind of wanted to share it on here too because I realized that my testimony is very, very powerful, and that many people know the full story of how I became a Christian and how I fully surrendered my life to Christ. So it all started when I was about 4 years old, and my mom started to tell me about God. She told me about the Lord's Prayer. She taught me how to say the Lord's Prayer. And she also just taught me how to pray in general. So her, my sisters, and I will always get together every night, say the Lord's Prayer, and just pray for whatever petitions that we had. So we did that every night, and I didn't really start going to church a lot until I was about 7 years old. We started to go to a Pentecostal church in Verona, Mississippi. Those who don't know, I lived in Mississippi for 8 years. Now you know. But in Verona, Mississippi, it was a very powerful Pentecostal church. I'm Pentecostal, so I really enjoy those type of environments. But this church in particular, they were very, very on fire. Like when I say on fire, I mean on fire. Like they was always running around the church. They were praying in tongues and just all types of things I would witness and see. And I remember also being prayed over and them saying that I received the Holy Spirit. And I remember when the person who would pick us up in a dune buggy, so we used to call it the dune buggy church because we would always get picked up in a dune buggy. And so the person that would pick us up, whenever we would go to the church, he'll always start speaking in tongues at the altar. And I was 7, so I didn't really know what that was or why he was doing that. So my sisters and I, we went home and we asked our mom, like, Mom, what is that? Why is he doing that? And she kind of explained to her best ability to where kids could understand it at our age. Fast forward to 2nd grade, that's when I got baptized for the first time. I remember feeling so much peace and so much joy after getting baptized because my mom also said she saw a difference in me because I was kind of mean to my sisters growing up because I was getting bullied at school and I was getting picked on at school, so I kind of took my anger out on them at home. I was very mean to them, very weird, and I just had weird pet peeves, and it was just things like that. And so after I got baptized, my mom said, yeah, there's a difference in her. Like she seems happier and all these things, right? And then 4th grade comes, and I remember that's when I actually like learned more about Jesus and what it meant to give my life to Jesus. And I remember saying the Lord's Prayer, and I remember the lady we actually went to a Baptist church for a while after we went to the Pentecostal church. So at the Baptist church in 4th grade is where I fully gave my life to Jesus. But you guys, my story is crazy. It's gonna get crazy. But anyways, I started to be very rebellious. I was doing a lot of things behind my mom's back. My dad was living in California while we were living in Mississippi. So, they broke up when I was 5 when we moved to Mississippi. So during this time, we were going to Baptist church on Sundays, but all throughout the week, I was cussing, getting into fights, doing other activities I shouldn't have been doing, like intimacy with different people my age that I shouldn't have been. And it became to a point where I really didn't have a deep relationship with God anymore until high school. But I get to that in a second. But yeah, I was doing a lot, and I only prayed to God like when I needed Him or if I just wanted to think about Him for a little bit. But I didn't really have that deep relationship with Him. So fast forward to seventh grade, is we moved to Texas, um, and I was still like, let me say this for a second. Like, I never like would fit in school. I always was a misfit, always getting teased, always getting bullied, always people always made fun of me. I never really had a lot of friends. So that was my experience in Mississippi. Fast forward to Texas, that same experience was happening in Texas. So I kind of felt alone. I got into this really horrible fight with this girl my seventh grade year in Texas. It was really bad. And I got suspended for a couple days, and it was just really hard time for me. And then for a little while, we were living with one of my mom's boyfriends, and then we ended up going to live with my aunt in Round Rock, Texas. So we moved to Round Rock, Texas with my aunt, and I remember just feeling so down because I don't know what it was, but I always felt like no matter where I went, no matter where we moved, I never had a lot of friends. Like, I was always the weird one, the new girl that no one wanted to talk to. Just I stood out for some reason. I didn't understand. And there's a couple things I'm leaving out of the story because I'm not trying to make this a, you know, whole podcast. But it is a long story, and if you want me to share more, just like let me know. Just hey, I would like to know more about your story, like more details. I'm willing to share. I'm an open book. I love sharing about my testimony. But anyways, we moved in with my aunt. We lived there for a while, and then when I was 14 years old, I moved away from my mom in Texas, and I moved to California to live with my dad because he moved around a lot, but initially I moved to California to move in with him while he was living there. And high school was kind of better for me. I got to this point where I stopped caring about what people thought of me in high school. I didn't have a lot of friends. I was known as the good, innocent girl, but I was friendly to people. I was like nice to a lot of people, and I had a couple of friends that I still have that, you know, I'm still friends with to this day. But my freshman year, my dad's sister, which is my aunt, she invited me to this church, and at the time it was called New Creation. And I was like, yes, I'll go to New Creation. You know, I felt like I needed to go to church anyways, because I don't want to say like I was just horrible, like devil child, but I felt like I needed more of God in my life at that time. So I decided to go to church, and I really enjoyed it. I went to the youth group on a Sunday, and I really enjoyed listening to the preaching. I still remember what the preaching was about. The pastor was talking about how sometimes we use God as a napkin, like, and we only go to God when we need him to clean up our mess, and then after that we just like throw him away. And that really spoke to me because I was like, dang, that hits, you know. And I started to go more consistently, and I remember one night I like just decided, no, it wasn't during the night, it was during one of the Sunday services in the youth group. I will always see people raise their hand during church, but I never really like did that. But for the first time, I decided like to start raising my hands during church, and I remember feeling so much peace, so much lighter, and so free to like worship God in an intimate way and not care who's looking. And so after that, I remember my sophomore year, I was 15, I believe, going on 16. I either just had turned 16 or I was getting ready to turn 16. We had this big youth night at they called it the South Campus or something like that. We had this really, really big youth night. I invited some people that I knew. Not a lot of people couldn't come, but some people showed up, and it was a lot of youth there. And I remember like just worshiping God and asking God into my like heart even deeper, and just wanting to get that close connection with Him. And basically what happened was I started to speak in tongues for the first time. And I already knew what it was because like I said, I witnessed it as a kid and growing up in, different kinds of churches and going to Pentecostal churches as well. So, sorry about that. But anyways, so it was very powerful. And after that, I kind of started to feel more in love with God slowly. But I still wasn't fully in it, if that makes sense. Like I said, I always knew about God. I always like prayed to God, but I didn't fully surrender to Him until I was in high school. Like fully have that deep, intimate relationship with Him. And so I remember basically what happened was before my senior year had started, I went to visit my stepmom's mom's church. And I remember they were singing this song. It was Fill Me Up, God. I'm not a good singer, but that's the song they're singing called, I think it's called Fill Me Up or something like that. But they're singing that song and I just started crying, and I didn't, when you're in church and you just start crying uncontrollably and you don't know why. It just happens, like the Holy Spirit starts to move within you. That's what happened to me. And I remember the pastor did an altar call. And so I went to the altar call, and I went up to the altar and they started praying over me. They anointed me with oil. And I feel like ever since then, my relationship with God has never been the same in a good way. I became a person who wanted to just share the love of God, who wanted to share what God was doing in my life, who wanted to share what I was learning about God. That's the kind of person I started to become after that prayer. And my senior year, I ministered, like, it was like more like a spontaneous moment. I ministered to the youth a little bit, with God's leading, of course. And I just remember having my eyes closed all the time because that was my first time speaking on stage, so I was kind of scared, and I was only like 17, so I was ministering to them, and that's when I knew, like, okay, I'm called to minister. I'm called to preach, the gospel. I'm called to do ministry, because initially I wanted to just become a therapist / counselor, and that's it. I didn't want to share the good news until that moment. And God just started to reveal things to me. And my youth pastor, he will always tell us, you're called, you have a purpose. Like, he will always speak that over us. And for some reason, I always felt like he knew that us in the room, that we had a calling on our lives. And it didn't quite click until later on that was why he was speaking life over us. It's very important to speak life over whoever you're ministering to, because it can change their life. But anyways, long story short, it's been 13 minutes now. I'm gonna try my best to hurry up and sum up the story, because it gets worse, guys. It gets crazy, but I'll just finish telling you guys what has happened. So after that, basically, I started to sign up for colleges. I signed up for Life Pacific University. I applied there, and I picked a degree. At the time, it was called Transformational Ministry. I started going to that school. It started off good, everything was good. And then when I think it was like my third semester, when my third semester hit, I started to realize that people didn't really like me there either. And it just became like some people, like, I'm not gonna say like everyone didn't like me, but there was a good amount of people who didn't. And someone told me that it was a rumor going around about me, and like a lot of it's a very small college anyways, so like gossip was happening, and I became so heartbroken to where I fell into a really deep depression. And it got to the point where I went to the mental health hospital because of suicidal ideation. I went to the mental health hospital at least 4 or 5 times throughout my college years. I'm still in college, by the way, but during that time, I was in and out of the hospital because suicidal ideation was eating me alive, and I didn't know what to do. I wasn't focused on my schoolwork. I went through other things too, but for some reason, that in particular really hit me to where I was like, you know what, that's it. I'm tired of like living for, people, which I literally wasn't. I was living for God, obviously, but I kind of felt that, we all feel that pressure to perform, especially when you're around other, Christians. And so I had this mindset like, I'm just gonna do what I want to do. And that's exactly what I started doing. My grades wasn't the best, so I withdrawed twice. I withdrawed and went back, withdrawed again. And then after that, I was just like, no, I'm done. I'm just gonna do what I want to do. So I started um, being intimate with people again. I started drinking a little bit here and there. I believe I smoked like once or twice as well. Um, Excuse me, sorry if that's like too much information, but I'm just sharing with you guys the truth of what I was going through. Um, but basically, long story short, I know I said that 5 times, but long story short, I ended up transferring schools to Azusa Pacific universities. And this is where it gets crazy. At that school, I felt in my spirit that I wasn't supposed to go, but I went anyways because I just wanted to get away from where I was living at the moment, and I just wanted to be in school because I couldn't go back to Life Pacific University due to finances. But they said, yeah, you can transfer schools though. So I transferred schools, and everything was going well. But during the middle time of me being there, I basically rededicated my life to Jesus. Because here's the thing, I had started to get so much joy, and it didn't make any sense because the things I was going through and the way I was being, I didn't deserve to have joy. I didn't deserve to still feel that light, still feel that peace and joy in my heart and in my mind. And I knew it was God calling me back. And that was his way of pulling me back towards him. And at that moment, I was just like, there's no way that this is happening. Like, I've done all these bad things. I'm not really focused on God like how I used to be. I kind of like backslid, and like, as you would say, backslid. So um after that, I rededicated my life to Jesus because I was like, you know what, Jesus, I'm tired of doing these things. I'm tired of running away from you. I want to rededicate my life back to you, Jesus. That's not the end though. After that, I felt so much lighter. I felt so much joy, so much peace. But I was still addicted to corn. I'm going to say corn with a C, but you guys know what I'm talking about. And I remember one night I was about to like do it, and God tried to stop me. He said, no, Felicia, if you do this, it's going to be really, really bad this time. Of course, me being a human, living, kind of listening to the flesh, I kind of was like, Lord, is, you try to negotiate with God like he doesn't know everything. That's what I was doing. So I did it, but after doing that, I got oppressed by demons. And if you don't believe in demons, you can stop the video right now. If you do believe in demons and you do believe that people can be oppressed by them, keep watching, because it's a beautiful testimony within this testimony that I'm sharing with you guys. So I got oppressed by demons, and you guys, I felt like my mind was going crazy. Like, I would have so much fear for no reason. Like, it was unbelievable. I was afraid of even looking in the mirror at myself. That's how scared I was. And I felt like something was out to get me. I was afraid when I went to church, they had these like babies there, and I was afraid of the babies. It was just really weird. And I was like, this is normal. And then it got to the point where I became super confused, like extremely confused, to the point where I would forget what I'm doing. I tried to warfare against it, but I would get really, really tired after trying to warfare against it. And I just would sleep for like the entire day because of how tired I was from trying to like rebuke this. And I remember feeling so confused to the point where it felt like someone had my brain. Like, literally, guys, I'm not exaggerating. It felt like someone took my brain and was doing this to it. That's how it literally felt. I was confused. I was paranoid. And it was just so much heaviness over me. And I remember coming across, and I know this was God because he did not have to do this for me. I came across an old friend from my old college. And he invited me to this worship night. And at the worship night, I got prayed over, and the Holy Spirit hit me so hard that I dropped to the ground. And they were praying over me, prophesying, and I wasn't quite free yet at that moment, though. It took like 5 days for me to be completely free. God used them to cast some things out of me, but I still wasn't completely free yet until this one night. One of my friends that was praying over me, he hosted this prayer night. It's called Push, Pray Until Something Happens. He hosted this prayer night, and he came in and basically prayed over me. But before he prayed over me, he looked at me because I was still, okay, this is gonna get crazy, guys. If you believe in spiritual stuff, like spiritual warfare and demons and stuff, just listen. I was growling, I was yelling, I had this voice that wasn't my voice. And my other friends were trying to cast these demons out. And when my other friend came in, he saw that was still happening. And he was kind of frustrated because they've been trying to get these demons out for the past like 5 days at this point. And so my friend finally looked at me. He said, Valesia, looking at you right now, I can see that you're a daughter of God. Some people might say like, oh, you're not a Christian because you're oppressed by demons and all these things, but you're his daughter. And that's what I hear God saying to you, is that you're his daughter. I'll never forget him saying that. And he also said, God's love is going to set you free. So it wasn't nobody praying. It wasn't nobody speaking in tongues or like laying hands on me. Literally, God's love set me free that night. I started crying my eyes out. And next thing you know, I was free. And I remember thinking like, oh no, what if I'm really not free? But I was free because I wasn't confused anymore. Throughout the days, I didn't feel confused. I didn't feel paranoid. I didn't feel like someone was twisting my brain. And I remember like thinking like, wow, God really did this. And so in 2022, March of 2022 is when I got rebaptized, because I felt like after all of that, after all the freedom that I've experienced, it's time for me to rededicate my life once again and get baptized. So I got baptized. And ever since then, it's been a journey. I'm not perfect. I still have flaws. I still make my mistakes. But God is good. He's on the throne. And He's teaching me every day to lean on Him and rely on Him and to pray to Him and to spend time with Him and get closer to Him. So if you're watching this and you don't know if God is real, you don't know if like demons are real, just know God is real. And if you're struggling with anything, He can set you free from it. It doesn't matter what it is. You just have to surrender that to Him. And that's another thing too. Like when I got free that night, I had to believe that I was free. I had to give it to Him fully. Because God is a gentleman. He's not going to force Himself on you. He's not going to force you to do or believe anything you don't want to do or believe in. But once you believe, it's a game changer. All right, guys, it's almost 30 minutes now. If you made it to the end, thank you. I love you guys. God bless you. And I pray that this encourages you. Bye.